Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts College Football Podcast, your ticket to all things college football. Are you looking to get your college football fix? Looking to get the latest news on your favorite school's team? Join us as we talk college football from the national championship to college rivalries to bowl games to the Heisman Trophy to which conference is the best. We've got you covered for the Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC, and everything in between.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the GSMC College Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Danielle. Thank you so much for tuning in with me today on this lovely Thursday. Whenever you're listening to this, maybe it's Friday, maybe it's Saturday morning, and you are getting ready for college football. But I really appreciate you listening to me, and as always, listening to the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm Danielle. Like I said, I'm recording this on a Monday night because I have a very hectic week of school. I will get into that, but it's good to be talking to you all. A little stress relief is always my favorite part of the day, recording for you guys, unwinding, talking about my favorite thing, which is football. I'm currently sitting on, sorry if the audio is a little funky, let me readjust. There you go. Sorry if I sound a little different. I'm currently sitting on the floor of my apartment, leaning against my couch. I have a Polar sparkling water. I've been really into sparkling water lately. I'm a big soda gal. It's kind of a bad habit. Soda and kombucha, my favorite things. Trying to cut back on soda, so drinking a lot of sparkling water. But yeah, I'm sitting here from Monday night. I just got done with class for the week. After this, I'm going to FaceTime some people, but it's a good day so far. And we have a lot of college football to get into. So definitely a high of my week is being productive. I was incredibly productive today. Whenever I'm productive, I get in these spurts to record the podcast as well. Because it's not oh, I don't want to do it, but it is an hour and a half of my time. Ooh, sorry. But I was so excited to record today. So whenever I'm productive, I'm woo, let's do this. And then a low of being productive is I am crazy stressed. I'm not sleeping super well. I don't do well with not sleeping. I'm one of those people that needs at least 8 hours, and it's a really bad habit of mine. I cannot lie. I wish I was better at being able to function off less sleep, but that's okay. I've always been like that. So a low of my week is being crazy stressed. But we got a lot of college football talk today. The Pac-12 might be coming back as well as the Big Ten. What? Let's get into our rundown. So today, we are going to be covering all the news that's going on. Football coming back for two of the conferences we thought were going to be here. That's exciting. And then we're going to get into some politics and football. A really interesting article by the New York Times came out in the past few days that I really want to talk about. So we're going to be talking about that and my thoughts on it. And then we're going to get into the AP poll, going over that, dissecting it. What does it all mean? And then we're going to get to the top 10 best chants in college football. So let's get started with our first segment. We're going to be going over the partying that is going across in America. NBC News released an article this morning, so Monday morning, detailing videos that were seen over the weekend of schools like Florida State and University of Kansas partying and living it up, which is not the best, as you guys know. So this video of Florida State tailgate spread across the internet. It was about 5 seconds long. It totaled over 1 million views, I want to say. And it was simply a group of what it looked like over hundreds of students partying, being reckless, not wearing masks. The video was tweeted out, and it was said that some students, you're not immune to the coronavirus. If you guys did not know, this video was on Snapchat, and they geotagged it, Florida State University. So the video is up for 24 hours. It was not taken down, which is just very reckless and immature in my opinion, especially given everything going on. And I feel like it's very easy to be since I'm not at my school right now, it'd be very easy just to say, well, if I was there, I wouldn't be doing this. But in all honesty, I might. And there's no denying that. These are young college students, and these kids have been locked up in their parents' house for like 6 months now due to coronavirus. So there's no doubt they do want to party, but they're doing it in such a reckless manner that it's just very irresponsible and really shows their negligence and immaturity with regards to this pandemic going on. Just because I feel like I'm taking it more seriously than my peers does not mean it is not a serious issue, and they should not be taking it seriously. But this video spread like wildfire. I saw it, and I mean, like, I had many people send it to me because obviously it's about college football, and I was just blown away by the recklessness. And obviously the state of Florida is one of the states with the higher case numbers. There's always something to look at like that. But similar videos and photos were also shared out of Lawrence, Kansas. That's the home of the University of Kansas, where students appeared to be gathered in big houses, parties on Mississippi Street, just minutes from the school stadium. Young people were seen crammed together, dancing and cheering on the front porch of a house. Many attendees did not have a mask based on the photos and videos shared to social media on Saturday. So again, a very similar situation to what is going on in Lawrence, Kansas right now. To what's going on in Florida State and all around the country. I mean, I have friends that go to UT Austin, and I saw videos of them partying this weekend. That was very reckless in my opinion. I've seen so many videos of kids partying at Boulder, and we don't even have a football team. We're not even playing football. Well, we might be this season. So those were just spread around social media. The U.S. has recorded more than 6.5 million coronavirus cases, and more than 194,000 people have died of the disease this year, according to data which was collected by NBC News. The fall semester has only just begun, but colleges and universities, they have been struggling to control coronavirus outbreaks, which is something I'm very aware of. If anyone here is on TikTok or anything, you see the like NYU quarantine meals or like USC quarantine check or something. And obviously a big part of the breakouts has to do with the kids partying. And again, I'm not saying that if I was there, I would not be partying. But I am aware that I would not be going out that much, and way less than the people that are here. And I would be seeing probably the same 3 people. But Dr. Anthony Fauci, he's the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. He has been the public face of the pandemic this year, as many of you guys know. And he did warn universities not to send students home because of the outbreaks. He said that would be the worst thing to do. When you send them home, particularly when you're dealing with a university where people come from multiple different locations, you could be seeding the different places with infection, which just makes sense. I never really thought about it from that perspective. I did assume that a lot of college campuses would be shut down for the fall semester pretty early on, and we're about a month in, I want to say, and Boulder has not been shut down, and most of the campuses have not been shut down that I'm aware of, but I do see his point about bringing the disease back to multiple locations and raising the risk in areas that might be a lower risk right now. Some college campuses have been criticized for their decision to do in-person learning. I know Boulder is a mix of hybrid, in-person, full in-person, and completely online. I'm doing all online. If it's like a hybrid, some days are in person, some days are not. I personally believe that if your class does not need to be in person, it should be online this semester. I'm in a major, journalism, where it's very easy to be online. Most of my classes have been online. The transition last year, about early March to fully online, did stink, I'm not gonna lie, but it was way easier of a transition than my friends who were in labs and science majors. And so I believe that if you can be online, you should be right now, just for safety. And the schools set unrealistic expectations for their students' behaviors that were bound to fail. This was a quote from Julia Marcus, an infectious disease epidemiologist at Harvard Medical School. I'm so sorry, there's like a plane flying overhead right now. But if universities really want students to stop having indoor parties, they need to provide opportunities for students to stay socially connected that are lower risk. So the universities, from my perspective, Boulder has suggested, don't do these big parties, party with less than 10 people. I know in Boulder, if you get caught at a big house party, I believe twice, that your house is thrown, you get evicted from your house, which is kind of crazy. I know in my sorority house, and I assume this is across all guidelines of the sororities of Boulder, but if you get COVID or caught partying too much, you will get in trouble and kicked out. And I know that you can report students to the school for reckless activity and get them suspended or even expelled, which is kind of crazy. But schools need to provide more opportunity for students, because especially the freshmen that are living in the dorms. I know this is a huge rant, not really related to college football. But yeah, these videos surfaced this week with regards to Florida State and Kansas was playing. They both had home games this week. Kansas lost to Coastal Carolina, and Florida State lost to Georgia Tech. That was a sad game to watch, but these teams both have their home opener this week, which makes sense why there'd be so much partying, especially because college football in these areas are so big. Obviously, as I will get into later, Florida State is a namesay in college football for so many years, despite the lack of success in the past few years. And Kansas, despite their success throughout it all, are still a big school. And there's no denying these kids partly chose the school because of the party environment, because of the football scene. There's no doubt about that. And so there's obviously going to be partying. And obviously, I said obviously how many times, depending on the situation that the school is in, Boulder, like I said, if you get caught partying and there's over 10 people and you're loud and get a noise complaint twice, like, you get evicted, and that's it. And it seems like the areas like Florida State and Kansas that are in, they have less strict regulations. I'm not completely aware, obviously. I'm not sure. I'm not a student there. I don't know. But I know that at Boulder, if this was happening, like, it would not get to the extent it did, if that makes sense. Obviously, there are lots of parties going on. I see them on my Snapchats all the time, but I think it's just people are more careful about it, especially because a video like the one that happened at Florida State goes viral, and now the whole world is talking about how we need to shut down college campuses again. And it's just about being smart. Again, I'm not advocating social media. Like, I'm not advocating partying right now. Just be smart about it. Obviously, no one was wearing a mask in these videos. Wear a mask. Go in small groups. You can still have the same fun of a tailgate that you would have at a party of 300 people at a random fraternity house that you can in your backyard with your 5 roommates and like a few other people that you see all the time. So that's just my 2 cents. Obviously, I'm very pro-mask. I am pro getting this virus to end because Pac-12 football and Big Ten football might come back, which is kind of crazy. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents on. That is my 2 cents on that whole video fiasco that occurred this week. But next up on our news breakdown, BYU is still working on their football schedule, and that was actually not something that I was aware that they were still working on. Obviously, BYU is, they're independent this season. Like I said, their opening match against Utah got canceled. They played Navy and they rubbed them 35-3 earlier this month. So 2 weeks ago, they had to postpone their week 3 matchup after a small number of COVID cases tested positive and the resulting traces exposures within the BYU program. They're looking together to piece a full season with as much of college football as they can. They have 8 games on their schedule, and they just added a home game against Louisiana Tech set for Friday, October 2nd. The BYU meeting, this week 5 meeting, moves BYU back up to 8 games on the season and 9 if Army can make up the game. So like I said, Army had to postpone their game. We are fortunate that Louisiana Tech had an open date on their schedule, which provided an opportunity for us to travel to Provo. BYU Athletic Director Tom Hoseman said, "We look forward with the matchup with the Bulldogs, who are coming off a 10-win season." The Cougars season has peaked as the team entered both the top 25 AP poll and the coaches poll on Sunday. They're currently number 1 in the AP poll, and number 22 in the coaches poll. If the teams continue to be successful in its scheduled games, they'll rise in the rankings, and they could be considered for the college football playoff. I mentioned that last week, but this could be the playoff selection committee. As I mentioned, they are a hot team that many people have their eye on. Crushing the top 4 might be difficult for them, however, especially because the top, I believe 3 out of 4 of the teams that were in the top 4 last season are playing this season, besides Ohio State, which looks like they're coming back to play. Again, I'm also recording this on a Wednesday night, so I hope it's not outdated by the time this goes up. But beating high-end groups of 5 opponents will bolster BYU's argument as a team to be in the mix for the New Year's 6 bowl bids. They're definitely on the rise, and I did not know their schedule was still being in the works. That's interesting. And then the big news story. This one got me. So, little tidbit, I was on the phone with my grandpa when this news broke, and I don't know if it's like news breaking because it's not been confirmed. He got so excited, he dropped the phone and had to hang up. He got so excited, and it was just very cute and sweet. So, possible Big Ten October start is in the works. This was a news report that came out over the weekend. For the first time since the Big Ten shut down all sports on August 11th, sources familiar with the decision have been transitioned from hopeful to confident that league's football teams will play in 2020. This comes from the Journal-Sentinel. They expect the Big Ten's Council of Presidents and Chancellors to vote to start the season, with the target date being October 17th. So I believe that is a month from today when you're listening to this. Yeah, a month from today when you're listening. It's on Thursday. But the Council of Presidents and Chancellors voted 11-3 last month to shut down all Big Ten fall sports because of the concerns over the coronavirus pandemic. I remember doing a whole podcast on Big Ten football, and the next day it got canceled, and I was really upset about it, but it's okay. I covered that in great depth back in August, so you can go listen to my coverage of that. But Ohio State, Nebraska, and Iowa were the three schools that voted to play. So that means that the rest of the schools opted out of playing this season due to coronavirus. Oh my gosh, was there like a bug in my room? Sorry. They opted out because of the coronavirus pandemic, and 9 votes will be needed to reverse the original decision, and Wisconsin is expected to vote yes this time. So they will need to have a resounding victory in this. So they will need to have, it looks like 12-2 at least to vote yes. Some sources reiterate that the reliable rapid testing has played a critical role in helping turn the tide in favor of trying to play this year. University of Wisconsin Athletic Director Barry Alvarez has talked about the importance of such testing, beginning with a Zoom session on August 11th. The Big Ten's medical subcommittee on Sunday made a formal presentation to the league's presidential steering committee, which features president chancellors from 8 schools. The 14-member council of presidents and chancellors is scheduled to brief Sunday on the medical updates. The council could approve the plan Monday or Sunday. Obviously, it is Monday, and they've not approved a plan yet, so here's to hoping they approve it like Thursday afternoon or like Friday when this goes. Like, I don't want to be outdated, but I have a very busy week, and I just want to get this out there for you guys. As an October 17th start date would be critical for Washington, Wisconsin, because Alvarez, the chairperson of the Big Ten Return to Competition Task Force, announced Wednesday the football and men's hockey will be shut down for 2 weeks. There was a little bit of an outbreak, and Paul Christ, Alvarez said on his monthly radio show that according to head coach Paul Christ, Wisconsin would require only 3 weeks of prep time to play an opener. An October 17th start would allow Big Ten teams to play 8 games in a 9-week window with a league title game on December 19th. The college football field is scheduled to be revealed on December 20th, and voting to play football this fall will cap a month that has brought turbulent discussion and embarrassment to a league since Commissioner Kevin Warren announced the shutdown and then went back and forth on his word many times. This announcement, which was included in an 8-paragraph statement and generic comments by Warren on the Big Ten Network, came 6 days after Big Ten officials revealed a 10-game schedule. So if you guys don't remember, back in August, the Big Ten announced that their schedule would happen with 10 games, and then 6 days later, they shut down the schedule completely. The lack of transparency and all honesty between the schools and the commissioner and the fans is what really led to the anger from many schools in general. Jim Harbaugh, Justin Fields, head quarterback for the Ohio State Buckeyes, Jim Harbaugh, head coach for the Michigan State Wolverines, as well as a plethora of other people, majority of those 2 schools, as well as Nebraska, trying to play independent this season. That really caused an uproar for many people in the industry. And the lack of transparency in announcing the decision, as well as Warren's his disappearance for nearly a week, led fans from Ohio State, Penn State, Nebraska, and Iowa to release letters demanding specific answers. Ohio State quarterback Justin Fields started a petition on August 16th requesting the league reverse the decision. More than 250,000 people joined the petition by the next day. Questions lingered about whether the Council of Presidents and Chancellors held a formal vote or if Warren drove the decision to shut down fall sports. Warren responded on August 9th by releasing a more detailed explanation of the decision. It did little to satisfy people, though, clearly, and a group of 8 Nebraska players filed a lawsuit, actually, on August 27th, seeking a reversal of the league's decision, and President Donald Trump became involved on September 1st when he spoke to Warren before visiting Kenosha, Wisconsin. If you guys do not remember, Kenosha was the home of the Jacob Blake shooting. And Ohio State coach Ryan Day said on Thursday he was blasting lack of communication for the league since the original decision. His final line in it, our players want to know why can't they play. Approving a plan to start up football will be a critical step. But Big Ten teams could face issues trying to deal with COVID-19. As you guys may have heard, SMU, TCU, Virginia Tech, North Carolina State, Baylor, Oklahoma State, Virginia, and Tulsa are among the teams that have been forced to postpone games already this season. And the football coaches and athletic directors understand the road ahead, but they are convinced they will be able to get the first game out on October 17th. This is big, you guys. This is massive news. There's no denying that. I mean, that is massive. We were here a month ago thinking there's no way. They're done. 3 out of 5. What's it going to look like? I did a whole thing. What's the new top 4 going to look like? What's going to happen if a team like Ohio State goes 7-0? Do they get in the playoffs? I mean, you have to look at a team like Alabama. Could they go 10-0 but then be knocked out if the strength of schedule for Ohio State is more powerful and a better strength of schedule? There are definitely some 9-1 teams or 10-1 teams that could be left out of the playoffs. Now, if the Big 12 if the Big Ten does come back. And news report came out today that the Pac-12 is eyeing a mid-October return as well, which would be very big because teams like Oregon would be in the mix, as well as USC. There's still a lot going on there. Once again, I'm recording this on a Monday night, so hopefully they do not confirm nor deny this before Thursday. So coming up, you guys, we have a very interesting article I'm going to talk about. I'm going to read some of it for you guys. And it's football and politics, why they shouldn't mix, but they happen to be this season. So stick around.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines. They got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the GSMC College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Danielle. We are on to our next segment here. I just want to say once again that I am not trying to sway anyone's opinions with talking about politics and coronavirus. I know it's a very touchy subject for many people. It is a touchy subject for me as well. But I want to thank you guys for listening to me and tuning in and just hearing my side. Again, I am a white middle upper class woman. And I know that I might not be the person you want to hear about politics from, but I just want to say thank you for listening to me, tuning in. And as I get older, especially with the election coming up, and I believe under 70 days now, it's definitely important to be aware of what's going on in our country. If you don't plan to vote, even then you should be aware. I hope you're planning to vote it. I hope you plan on voting. I hope that if you can vote, you are. And even if you're not planning on voting, I think it's important to be aware of what is going on. So, an interesting article by the New York Times titled, Trump and Biden Seek an Electoral Edge from an Unlikely Source. College Football. It was released, I believe, this morning, so Monday morning. And very interesting article. I really enjoyed it. I always enjoy New York Times writing, but I thought it was really interesting. I've always talked about how, not always, but since the Big Ten and the Pac-12 did shut down, I lost my train of thought. I was always a little more aware that the states that were remaining to be open did lean more red, and the states that were closing were either swing states or were more blue states. And it's been very clear throughout the time that the Pac-12, the Pac-12 and the Big Ten have been shut down, that Trump has been lobbying for the start of the Big Ten and not really the Pac-12. And there's a lot of skepticism around that as to why. He's been very open about wanting college football for a variety of reasons. And if you guys aren't aware, a majority of the schools that are in the Big Ten are swing states or predominantly red states. Most of them are swing states, though, and many of the states in the Pac-12 are more blue states. So do with that information what you will. But it is suggesting that President Donald Trump is trying to gauge the vote of some people in the swing states by opting for college football. So this article, I'm going to read some of the segments. I'm going to read some paragraphs from it. Warren's league decided in August to postpone college sports. This is talking again about the Big Ten. And Trump has a message as rife as with political considerations as athletic ones. He hoped to see football revived in a Big Ten, a Power 5 conference home to schools like Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, and Wisconsin, fabled parts of footprint that overlap with many of America's presidential battleground states. He made it very clear that he would want to help in any way he possibly could to help us return to competition. This is what Warren said Friday evening in an interview, his first about his conversation with the president September 1st. They had about a 15-minute conversation. He said it went very smooth and it was very professional. The president has assumedly not forgotten the NBA and the NFL as he's rallied against social justice protests by athletes in the league to try to shut down his base of white vote, to try and galvanize his base of white voters. So if you're unfamiliar with what is going on in the NFL and the NBA, especially with the NFL coming back yesterday, there's a lot of social justice protests going on in those sports, and there is a lot of uncertainty. As you guys might remember, a few days of the NBA playoffs were suspended because of protests over the Jacob Blake shooting, and there's potential over the NBA season being canceled. Yesterday when the NFL kicked off officially on the first Sunday, there was indicators all over the field from the teams, such as end racism at the edge of each end goal, or at the end of each field, as well as Black Lives Matter t-shirts, the names of hate crimes and racial injustice on the back of players' helmets, masks, saying Black Lives Matter. Those were all being worn, as well as in the U.S. Open, Naomi Osaka, who ended up winning the U.S. Open on Saturday. She wore 7 masks with names of 7 different victims of racial injustice and police brutality. And so Trump has been going against these to try and rally his white voters who are leaning more Republican. And there's no denying that. He's been very vocal against racial justice. And the geography of the college football teams partially shut down a consequence of the decentralization nature of the decision-making in the sport has made gridiron politics irresistible. The Big Ten, a Midwestern-rooted conference that has postponed its fall season based on the same day last month as another Power 5 conference, the West Coast-based Pac-12, has not decided whether it will play football, enraging some of its potential prominent figures. College football's other leading leagues, the Athletic Coast, which includes powerhouse schools in the South, Big 12 sustainably in the Plains in the South, and Southeastern Conference have been playing or intend to by the end of the month. Trump has relished attending games during his presidency because he enjoys that sort of warm reception, particularly in the South, that he would not receive a professional sporting event in liberal cities. Again, this is a quote from the New York Times. Do with that what you will, but I personally agree with him. I think it's very obvious Trump would never come to a Boulder football game. He would go to Alabama games. He loves going to the Alabama LSU game, and I don't want to speak ill will. I'm not trying to get political here, but I think it's very clear that he favors southern states and southern schools with regards to football because he knows the reception he'll get is very warm and welcome. He convinced he had clout in the game after he was welcomed to the two-time national championship games and last year's LSU-Alabama showdown. The president has repeatedly injected himself in the deliberations about whether to play this year, so he is putting himself at the forefront, considering himself a very big figure in this decision, which obviously as the president of the United States, you have a saying over everything in some regard, and what I mean by that is he's trying to sway voters. There's no denying that, like I've said, and by giving the Big Ten reason to believe they will have a season like they want and like everyone wants, he thinks that being on their side will get more votes in these swing states. That's just on the table. Do with that what you will. I think it's very clear where I stand, and yeah, but he and Vice President Mike Pence separately spoke with sports industry leaders in April, and since Trump has zeroed in on the politically pivotal Big Ten, all but ignoring Pac-12, whose schools are mostly in reliable Democratic voting states. So again, California, Colorado, they're going to lean left this year, and Trump is looking at the swing states. Greg Sankey, the SEC commissioner, said he's been in touch with some public officials during the pandemic, but that conversations amounted to supportive, how we can be helpful exchanges, not efforts to pressure him towards a season in a region that reverves football, but has been ravaged by the virus. So, Greg Sankey, the SEC commissioner, I feel like has been very open about wear your mask. He wants college football to happen. Obviously, he is the SEC commissioner. And he's very aware of what's going on, but he wants football to happen, so he's going to say the right thing. And then Clay Travis, a sports commentator who recently interviewed the president, has long sobbed sowed doubts about the risk of the virus. Clay Travis is a Twitter meme, I feel like. He said he believes Trump's interest in the Big Ten could be linked with this dissent within the conference, including protests and litigation that has been absent after other leagues canceled football. Travis said the Big Ten wants to play, and not playing has provoked a great deal of rancor. He said, I'd be far more concerned about the Big 12 being canceled and no one caring than I would about the Big Ten canceling and politicians getting involved. Still, a rising number of Republican officials have begun to follow Trump's lead. Ohio Attorney General floated the idea of Ohio State suing the conference, and some officials believe that the people in the region will grow angry about the absence of Big Ten football as other leagues have been playing this month. It will make the inconsistencies more dramatic and Big Ten fans and student athletes more frustrated, and rightfully so. Lee Chatfield, the Michigan State House Speaker, who spearheaded a letter from the Republican legislative leaders across 6 states who urged the conference to reconsider. There is no denying that this season of college football is going to be more political. It is going to be more intense and fraught than ever before. There's always been an underlying tone of politics, especially in the last 4 years since Trump has been elected as the president of the United States. There was a lot of controversy around that, depending on the state you live in. I grew up in California, San Diego to be specific, and I go to school in Boulder, Colorado, which are 2 very liberal cities, as many people may know. And I'm not saying like everyone there is liberal, but the majority of them are, or just lean left. And so it is not a Trump-friendly city, to say the least. And I'm very proud of Boulder for standing up and being in favor of Black Lives Matter, protesting, saying they're right, going against what the president is saying, and being aware that just because he is our president does not mean he always says the right thing. And I think having a political football season is not something we want. I don't think it's a good idea, but it is going to happen. Politics seems to be ingrained into everything in our society nowadays. There's no doubt about that. Once again, everywhere you go, it's political to some extent, which is good and bad because it makes you more aware of what's going on in the world. I definitely think that also comes with growing up. The last election I was 17 and now I'm 21. Everything is political. It seems like wearing a mask for some reason is political, which, again, I understand people are saying it takes away my freedom of whatever. Wear a mask, people. It saves lives. It really helps. Again, wearing a mask is political. Even little things like turning red, right on red. I've heard conversations about that being political and how that's rude to like homeless people, which I'm just absurd. And so everything is political nowadays, and it's no surprise that college football is getting political. I remember an example was I was in the Starbucks line one day at school. I was waiting for class to start, and for some reason, I was standing in line, and all of a sudden this huge fight broke out. Like, I'm talking like fist fight, because this girl was wearing like a Make America Great Again hat, and these 2 people are now banned from the Starbucks, which is just absurd to me, and that's political. I mean, going to Starbucks is political now for some people. So it's wild to me, but I think being aware of politics, like I said, is good and bad. There's pros and cons to it. You're more aware of what's going on. You're more socially, culturally aware. But at the same time, it does not need to be political. I don't want to see college football become a red state versus blue state. College football is one of the only things. It's something that unites us, and it's something that brings people together in ways it doesn't. I mean, I've met some of my greatest friends through college football, and the fact that we're going to use this already weird season with the pandemic going on and the uncertainty about the world, we're already going to use this weird season as a way to sway an election. I don't know. I expect it, and I know how it's going to be. Just stinks, you know? Our country's kind of in a turmoil, and there's no denying that. And if you had asked us 6 months ago, would college football be this political this year? I mean, I think an election year, anything is political. I'm looking at my plant outside. That could be political. That's a bad example, but you know what I mean. So college football is getting political this season, and I think the New York Times did a really great job talking about that, analyzing it, and I appreciate their perspective. Obviously, their perspective is more liberal, and I did not mean to anger anyone today with my thoughts or opinions on this, but I think it's just important to know, especially I hope most of my listeners are on the older side can vote, are eligible to vote. This is the first election I will be able to vote in. I registered to vote a few weeks ago. I'm very excited to have a voice and say on how our country goes. I do not want to say which side, just to not anger anyone and not to get too more political than I already am here, but I think it's going to be interesting to see how the season goes. But let's get into a later note here. Coming up, we are going to be looking at the AP Top 25 poll that launched this week, and we're going to be going over the results, so stay tuned.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the College Football Podcast on the GSMC Podcast Network, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I just zoned out completely there and said the wrong thing, but thank you for tuning back in after that little commercial break. We are back with our third segment of the day, rolling on by. It's a gorgeous Monday night, I have to say. The sun is starting to set a little. It's 6:19. 6:19. I am sweating. I was really excited yesterday because all day for football, I had on my Packers hoodie and my leggings, and again, I had like 4 fans going and air conditioning, so like I did not need the hoodie. I would probably be sweating if I wasn't for it, but I was so excited. Fall weather. I curled up in my bed last night, so excited, and then I woke up sweating. Just happens to us. It really bothered me, in all honesty, but that's okay. I think I got so excited. I was like, oh, fall is here. I remember I went to my doctor's today and wore leggings. Fall is not here in California. There's literally no denying that. But, yes. AP poll was released on Sunday. We love that. There were no changes at the top. Preseason number 1 favorite Clemson received 60 of 61 first place votes this week after all Division I teams were eligible to be voted on for the preseason top 25. A panel of 61 voters was permitted to consider only one team playing. Consider only teams playing in the fall now that the season has started. So if you guys remember, there were, I believe, 7 out of the 25 teams were not playing, but I digress. AP was always interesting to me when I was younger. I never understood it. In all honesty, I was always very confused. Is that the right word? Confused? Yeah. I didn't understand it. Obviously, I was naive and didn't know math in general, but that's okay, guys. That's okay. We live and we learn, right? We live and we learn. Let's go over the top 25. We have Clemson, who received 60 of 61 votes for first place this week. Second. Ooh, excuse me. Second, we have Alabama. They have not played a game yet. Their first game is going to be on September 26th. Number 3, we have the Oklahoma Sooners. They demolished Missouri State 48-0 behind a dramatic performance from Spencer Rattler. At number 4, we have the Georgia Bulldogs. Their first game is September 26th September 6th as well. At number 5, we have Florida. At number 6, we have LSU. They received 1 vote for first place. They were the only other team that got the vote. At number 7, we have Notre Dame. At number 8, we have the Auburn Tigers. At number 9, we have Texas Longhorns. At number 10, we have Texas A&M. At number 11, we have Oklahoma State. At number 12, we have the North Carolina Tar Heels. At number 13, we have Cincinnati. At number 14, we have UCF. At number 15, we have Tennessee. At number 16, we have Memphis. At number 17, we have Miami. At number 18, we have Louisville. At number 19, we have Louisiana Lafayette. At number 20, we have Virginia Tech. At number 21, we have BYU. At number 21, we have Army. At number 20, we have Virginia Tech. At number 21, we have BYU. At number 22, we have Army. At number 23, we have Kentucky. And at number 24, we have Appalachian State. And at number 5, we have Pitt. So if you guys weren't aware, Pitt demolished Austin Peay 55-0. They played two 10-minute halves in the second half of the game. Two 10-minute quarters. Wow, I really cannot talk today. I'm zoning out. But yes, Austin Peay, they demolished 55-0. Iowa State did fall out of the top 25 because of their loss to Louisiana. The preseason number 2, Ohio State, preseason number 7, Penn State, and preseason number 9, Oregon, along with 6 other Big Ten and Pac-12 teams dropped out of the rankings. The Big Ten, Pac-12, Mid-American Conference, and Mountain West have delayed their seasons, but the Big Ten is taking some steps towards a possible mid-October start, which I talked about with the teams gone. Alabama moved up to number 2. Oklahoma is number 3, followed by number 4, Georgia, and number 5, Florida. LSU, defending champs, got 1 vote for number 6. Got 1 first place vote for number 6. Among the 2 teams were Southern powerhouse, Sun Belt powerhouses Louisiana Lafayette at number 19, and Appalachian State at number 23, tied with Kentucky. The Raging Cajuns, Louisiana Lafayette, pulled up the biggest upset of the weekend. They beat Iowa State 31-14. Because of this, the Cyclones have ranked. They are the only team who fell out of the rankings after not playing. They were in the preseason top 25. Louisiana Lafayette was last ranked in 1943, which is pretty exciting. And number 16, Memphis, has taken the highest ranking of these teams entering the poll. Not surprising, the Tigers were the first among the other receiving votes in the preseason poll and opened the season by beating Arkansas State last week. The same Arkansas State then turned around and upset Kansas State on the road Saturday. Number 17, Miami, also gained some support. The Hurricanes joined on the strength of a 31-14 victory against Conference USA contender UAB. Number 18, Louisville, beat Western Kentucky 35-21 in its opening season to open its season, and they were ranked for the first time since 2017, which I believe is the last time Lamar Jackson was over there. Number 20, Virginia Tech, already had 2 games postponed. The Hokies were supposed to open their season Saturday against NC State, but the Wolfpack's preparation for the season was delayed due to a COVID-19 outbreak. Now Virginia Tech is dealing with coronavirus situations of its own, and its next game against Virginia has been postponed. Number 21, BYU, opened their season on Labor Day, beating Navy 55-3. The Cougars' next game has been postponed because of positive COVID-19 tests among the players. Number 22, Army, opened its season with 2 victories by a combined score of 7. Number 3, Kentucky, is scheduled to start the season September 26th for the rest of the Southeastern Conference. Number 25, Pitt, opened the season by beating Austin Peay 55-0 in a game that was shortened in the second half. With the Panthers up 42-0 at halftime, the teams agreed to play 10-minute quarters in the second half. Those are the big news for the AP poll updates. Very exciting. Obviously, with the Big Ten and Pac-12 potentially coming back, that will shake up the roster a little. Alabama, I don't honestly think deserves to be ranked number 2, but because Ohio State is out, as well as Oregon, we have to look at that. Oklahoma seems perfectly ranked at number 3, in my opinion. Georgia, Florida, and LSU, I don't believe should be ranked so high. I believe Notre Dame should have a little bit higher of a ranking. But again, this is all still the preseason predictions. I think it's a little weird that, the SEC has not started playing yet. I think that's kind of weird. But again, what can you do? So that is the AP poll. What do you guys think? How would you create your own AP poll? Again, it always confused me. I'm still a little confused about the voting and everything. That's okay, though. Obviously, COVID outbreaks have impacted schools drastically, as you can tell by the fact that Virginia Tech already had 2 games postponed, as well as BYU. Whew, excuse me, guys. It is getting hot in here. So, everybody, coming up, we are going to be looking at the top 10 best chants from college football. So stay tuned for that.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our final segment on the College Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. It is the GSMC College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Danielle. We're going to be doing a fun little top 10 list. I've really slacked off on my top 10 list the past few weeks, trying to get creative here in quarantine, keep it original. I feel like the first 3 segments of the show are always very analytical, very by the book, statistical, as you know, and I like to switch it up a little. My favorite one I've ever done was my first one. It was the top 10 best tailgate foods, and that one was so much fun. But I digress. Today's top 10 is very fun. I was going to do mascots, and I realized I already did that, so got a little creative here, and I was watching the Florida State-Georgia Tech game on Saturday, and I noticed that there were these 2 fans in, glittery costumes, a red and yellow glittery costume, and I was like, interesting. Okay. So I was going to do, top 10 best, fan mascots, because I know at Boulder we have the Twins. One of them recently passed away, rest in peace. We have the Twins. We also have the Bananas. I'm thinking Boulder specific here. There's, the student section at Stanford. I was going to maybe, top 10 student sections, but I already kind of did that as well. So I was, struggling a little, and then I was thinking, what's, a staple of college football for the fans? What is something that fans watch college football for, and they go, yeah, that's right. That's why I watch college football. And it's the chants, you guys. Even if you are not a fan of the team, even if you don't enjoy the team, you still like the chants. You still know them by heart. So let us get into it. I want to give some biases. I will not be doing Boulder, even though they're number 1 in my heart, and they're the number 1 chant, in my opinion. Statistically, I know that not many of you guys care about Boulder or the Buffs, really, but I do. It's okay. I'm not putting them on this list, though. They do have one of the best mascots, Go Ralphie, but that's for another time, another day. Also, I want to say, once again, these are my opinions. And due to copyright reasons, I will not be able to hyperlink or play the chant, just because we do not have the copyright license to that. But I will try and sing it for you, which will be very exciting. And yes, at number 10 on our list, we have Rock Chalk Jayhawk. This is the University of Kansas. This was originally used as a chant for during college basketball games at Allen Fieldhouse, as well as the Kansas football games. Rock Chalk Jayhawk dated all the way back to 1886. With credit going to the University Science Club and Geology Department. Rock chalk is a type of limestone found in the ground where the university sits. The call formed around this idea, and the Jayhawk faithful have not looked back. In history, it's mind-blowing. At the Olympic Games of 1920, the King of Belgium asked to know a typical American college yell. The group of athletes agreed on rock chalk and taught the fabled chant to its majesty. Also used as a campus goodbye, one will say rock chalk with their response being Jayhawk. This chant is a lot of fun and can be only found in the heart of Kansas. That's very interesting. I didn't realize, we have SCO buffs or fight, and then it's buff 'em up, go see you. We have that kind of thing. That's interesting. That's very, okay, so I'm going to try to sing it rock chalk Jayhawk, right. Maybe I shouldn't try singing. That's embarrassing. Oh no, there's a reason I didn't go into singing. Fun fact, when I was 1 year old, I was 9. Just kidding. I really wanted to be a singer. Hannah Montana was very big at the time. It was second season. And I was I have to be a singer. I have blonde hair. I had to be next to Hannah Montana. I remember I tried this is so weird, you guys. I tried dyeing my hair brown to be Hannah Montana for Halloween one year. I was Miley Cyrus. And obviously you can't see me, but I have platinum blonde hair. It's all natural. I have never dyed it. It is my pride and joy. People will be like, oh my God, fake blondes. And like from Southern California, and they're like, my hair's all natural. But I digress. So I had the Hannah Montana hair perfect. I did not need to buy a wig. I bought a wig. Then I tried dyeing my hair brown, like box dye, very, very temporary. Didn't work. It turned my hair gray. So I was like, I have to go to vocal lessons. And no one in my family has vocal talents. This story's getting somewhere, guys, I promise. But like, nobody can sing. I'm telling you that the people that can sing in my family, like, are probably not related to us. No one. But they kicked me out of vocal lessons after the second week because they knew I didn't have talent. They knew I wasn't going anywhere. And the teacher literally pulled my mom aside one day and was like, we're not going to have you pay for these last 2 sessions. Don't bring her back. She literally can't sing. And that was my humble beginning. That was when I realized, okay, Danielle, maybe you shouldn't do something with audio. Maybe you shouldn't do something on the microphone. And here I am pursuing a career in podcasting. So was it the best idea? Probably not, but I digress. Anyways, I was kicked out of singing lessons when I was 9. Only thing I've ever been kicked out of, and I wasn't technically kicked out. I was kind of asked to leave. Because, homegirl is not talented in the vocal department. Singing in the car with me is not fun, so at least, but Rock Chalk J-Hop at number 10. Number 9 on our list, we have Boomer Sooner, the University of Oklahoma. I spelled it really weird on my Google Doc, but this is the motto of the entire state. As I said, my old tennis coach is, he played tennis at Oklahoma, and so he's very big on Sooner country. It's kind of crazy, but every single day before I listen, he would say Boomer Sooner, and it's known, like, that's what you say in Oklahoma is Boomer Sooner. It was used as a greeting, the university's fight song, and a callback chant. The Boomer Sooner song was written by Martha M. Alden, a student in history and psychology at OU in 1905. Over the years, the fight song became the motto, and the war cry has not stopped. Oklahoma fans say it as much as possible. That's very well known. Literally, you meet an Oklahoma fan, they say, oh, Boomer Sooner. I've mentioned, like, oh, I almost went to Oklahoma, like, once to a family friend who goes, Boomer Sooner, like, top of his lungs at the grocery store. And I was like, okay, that's not what I was going for here. At number 8, we have Hottie Toddy. This is Ole Miss. Have you ever walked through Mississippi, Oxford, Mississippi, and yelled, are you ready? Hottie Toddy, Ole Miss are inseparable. They first appeared back in a copy of the Mississippian and immediately stuck. Hell yeah, damn right. Then continues, Hottie Toddy, gosh almighty, who the hell are we? Hey, flim flam, bim bim, Ole Miss by damn. So that's Hottie Toddy for y'all people. This is an iconic chant. I have a friend that went to Ole Miss, and she would literally call me just to say Hottie Toddy on game days, and we weren't even that close, but she would just call me when she had a few drinks in her and would sing it to me, and it was beautiful, and it really made my days when I was in high school. But the Rebels are not a powerhouse in college athletics. As you may know, they have some very unique chants. Ole Miss seems like a good time to go to school there, I'm not gonna lie, but you know. At number 7, we have Woo Pig Sue from the, that sounds so weird to say, oh my gosh, Woo Pig Sue from the University of Arkansas. This is a famous hog call at the University of Arkansas. The hog call dates back to the 1920s. A group of farmers showing support for an underperforming football team decided to start squealing like hogs, and apparently the tactic worked, and the Razorbacks won the game. The next week, the farmers organized the first edition of the call, now performed numerous times at Arkansas sporting events. Razorback faithful have used this as a term of endearment and love chanting it in one of their nation's most iconic cheers. It's pretty as iconic. For someone who I never considered going to Arkansas, was not on my list of colleges, I always knew this song, or chant, I guess you could say. And it's pretty catchy. I mean, woo-wee pig suey, I could catch myself saying it in the grocery store as I'm, like, shopping for ham, which would not be the right time to say it by any means. But you know what I mean. And at number 6, we have Roll Tide. University of Alabama, Roll Tide. I mean, you hear that everywhere. You tell people you go to Alabama, you're in Alabama, and they just go, oh, Roll Tide. And that's the truth. That's just how it is. The University of Alabama is one of the more, I think it's probably the most famous football school. I would say that in Texas, the Texas Longhorns, UT Austin are the most famous, like, out of all of them. And it's just something everyone says, it's just something that happens. If you, like, had a child, Roll Tide. You perfectly made eggs, Roll Tide. It just kind of signifies, like, a good day, like, oh, it's gonna be a good day today. The origin of the phrases are scattered, with so many stories of it first being used. Edward in Alabama says Roll Tide at the University of Alabama's Bryant-Denny Stadium. It's filled with thousands of fans, and the state has one of the more premier college football locations for decades. This phrase is more than a chant honoring the university's Crimson Tide athletic programs. It's a way of life in Alabama. You better respect Roll Tide. If you come to Alabama, there's no denying that whatsoever. Roll Tide is kind of just, it's infamous, you know? It's well known. It is, I mean, one of my mom's best friends went to Alabama, and every day it feels like she's yelling Roll Tide. They're at tennis, Roll Tide. They're at lunch, Roll Tide. They're getting water, Roll Tide. I mean, it's everywhere. At number 5, we are Penn State. Penn State University. I feel like that should be higher up on my list now that I think about it, but this is tucked in the heart of Pennsylvania, Happy Valley. It was named that way, actually. Fun fact. Because it was not able to be decimated by the Great Depression. It's one of the loudest and most recognizable chants. If anyone was wearing blue and white, simply saying we are, there's a 99% chance that they will be followed by Penn State chanting at sporting events around town and added in the official words to the stadium anthem, Zombie Nation. This call dates back to 1946. They were told by the University of Miami Hurricanes that 2 black players were not allowed to play in the road game. The team captain said, we are Penn State, and the team unanimously agreed. The game was canceled, and a Penn State tradition was born. So that's pretty cool that it all started over racial injustice and not letting it happen, like 8 years ago, which is kind of crazy. The chant got wildfire and became the slogan for the entire university. I know someone that goes there, and I think her Instagram bio was, we are Penn State. It's just truly everywhere, I guess you could say. At number 4, we have Rocky Top, the University of Tennessee. University of Tennessee. I remember The Blind Side. I will not wear that god-awful orange. Anyways. Contrary to popular belief, Rocky Top is actually not the official fight song for the University of Tennessee. Then again, with how much Vols fans love to sing it, as it might as well be. It was originally recorded by the Osborne Brothers and was adapted by the Pride of the Southland Band in the 1970s and initially stuck. The lyrics are an ode to all things Tennessee and have only gotten better with age. I really recommend listening to the song I'm a Vol for Life if you're a Tennessee fan. Fantastic song. It's so catchy. I listen to it and I'm not a Vol fan and I'm just freaking obsessed with it. But yeah, Neyland Stadium, it's always rockin' with Rocky Top starts to play. It is one of the loudest atmospheres in college football. Without a doubt, Tennessee truly has a fan base unlike any other, despite the lack of success in recent years because of college football. At number 3, we have OHIO, Ohio State University, if you did not know what that spelling was. Originally, Ohio State was a chant that was sung by the melody of Row, Row, Row Your Boat by U.S. Navy sailors. After learning the chant while a member of Navy, Matthew Sidley joined the cheering squad at Ohio State and taught the cheer to fans at Ohio State in 1947. The second part was ultimately dropped, and now the famous chant was born. Now you can walk through Columbus and simply yell OH, and someone will say IO, OHIO. It's faster at the stadium, at the shoe, and it goes to show that 104,000 people can have a spelling bee, which is kind of funny, you know. I can't spell very well, but if you taught me to spell buff, B-U-F-F, I could do that in a heartbeat. I just look like Alicia and the Bees, or Akeisha. I forgot what that movie was called. At number 2, we have the Seminole War Chant by Florida State. This was going to be number 1 for me, but I can't let it be number 1. I'm sorry, you guys. I really can't. There's another school in my heart. There are no words. This is not a theme song. This is thousands of people imitating anyone who dares to intimidate them. The war chant first happened randomly during a 1984 football game. The Marching Chiefs band started playing a portion of what is the iconic war cry, and it became a stadium-wide hit at home games ever since. If you first hear the yell, chances are you're in enemy territory. And better blend in quickly before the knolls start coming. No matter where you go, be sure to listen. I don't know how to describe it. Kind of like a doom, 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 doom. I don't know how to describe it. It's iconic. I remember listening to it on the TV, and my parents literally had to mute it because it was so annoying to them. But besides the point, let's go over our top 10 list before we get to our number 1. Dave, any guess what the number 1 team is for the number 1 chant? Rock Chalk J-Hop at number 10 by the University of Kansas. Boomer Sooner, University of Oklahoma at number 9. Hotty Toddy, University of Ole Miss. University of Ole Miss. Hotty Toddy, gosh almighty, who the hell are we? Hey, flim, flam, bim, bim, Ole Miss, by damn. That is catchy. That needs to be higher on the list. I'm sorry. That's catchy. Woo Wee, Pi Sui, number 7, the University of Arkansas. Roll Tide, number 6, the University of Alabama. We are Penn State University at number 5. Rocky Top, the University of Tennessee. OHIO, Ohio State University. Seminole War Chant, the Florida State Seminoles. And at number 1, I believe that we will win by the Naval Academy. Navy, many of you guys probably know this by the men's soccer team run in the 2014 World Cup. I'll never forget all those videos online, like, I believe that we will win. But this was actually originated by the Navy shipmen who started the cheer in 1999 at the Animal Army Navy game. The cheerleaders created this, and the callback adds another word with each yell, so it's like, I believe, I believe, I believe that, I believe that, I believe that we, I believe that we, I believe that we will, I believe that we will, I believe that we will win, I believe that we will win, like that, and it just keeps going. And eventually you get louder and louder with the slogan. You know what I mean? I'm sure many of you have heard that. It echoes across all colleges. I mean, it echoed across, like, my high school. What are we on, like, Division 4 basketball in 2015. It echoes across everywhere. State schools like San Diego State use it. They attempted to get trademarked for it, but they were eventually denied. Utah State uses it, and just about every single sporting event uses it today as well. And the full credit does belong to the U.S. Navy. Very interesting, but that is number one. That just encapsulates all of society, that encapsulates everything for me. But that's the number one chant by far. And thank you guys so much for listening to the GSMC College Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network today. I am your host, Danielle. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. Get ready for another fun weekend of games. Don't forget to leave us a rating and review on iTunes. It really helps us out. And that being said, thank you guys so much for listening, and have a great night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts College Football Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From football to basketball, baseball to MMA, and even soccer. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media